What if I told you that right now there's an invisible force operating in your life? It's shaping everything: your relationships, your bank account, even your health. And get this, it's about 90% more powerful than your conscious willpower. Well, today, we're unlocking the instruction manual for that very force.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That drive to work you do every day, your instant reaction when you get stressed out, those same old thoughts that just seem to loop in your head. How much of that is a real conscious choice? And how much is just a program running in the background? In this explainer, we're going to talk about how you can grab the controls.
To see just how powerful this all is, let's dive into a story from Dr. Joseph Murphy's work. It's about a man who walked into his office completely and utterly defeated. He was 100% convinced he was cursed, that failure was just his destiny. But just 6 months later, that same man was living a totally different life.
But here's the craziest part of his story, the part you really gotta get. Nothing on the outside changed for him. He didn't suddenly get a new degree or win the lottery. The only thing that shifted was his inner world. He learned how to work with his mind instead of fighting against it. And that simple shift, well, that's the foundation of everything we're about to cover.
So who was this guy who unlocked this for so many people? Well, Dr. Joseph Murphy wasn't just some philosopher in an ivory tower. He was a scholar, a counselor, who worked with thousands and thousands of people. And he started to see a pattern, a common thread, running through every single problem he encountered. People just didn't understand the rules of their own mind. This brings us to the first and, honestly, the most fundamental principle of them all. It's the law that governs how our inner world actually builds our outer reality. It's called the law of mental equivalence. What this really means is simple, but it's incredibly profound. Your circumstances, your job, your health, your relationships, they aren't the cause of how you feel. They are the effect of how you consistently think and feel. Your inner world, your dominant thoughts, your core beliefs, they create a mental blueprint. And your outer world, well, it has no choice but to build whatever is on that plan. Think about this story of a businessman who came to see Murphy. He had failed in five different businesses over 10 years. Now, he was smart, he was a hard worker, but his mental blueprint, his mental equivalent of what business meant to him was a picture of failure. He was constantly worried about competition, about losing money, about making mistakes, so his reality was just dutifully reflecting that inner picture right back at him. So Murphy gave him a new blueprint. He told him, every day for just 15 minutes, I want you to close your eyes and build the business in your imagination. He had to see happy customers walking in. He had to feel the satisfaction of closing a deal. He had to mentally rehearse making smart, confident decisions. He was literally building a new mental equivalent. And what happened? Within a year, his next business was a massive success. Same man, totally different blueprint. Okay, so that's the big foundational principle. But how do we actually start changing our inner blueprint? How do we get our hands dirty? Well, the next few laws we're going to cover are the practical tools for that mental renovation. These are the methods you can start using today to rewire those automatic thought patterns. This one right here is a total game changer. Your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. It's a single tasker. So when a negative thought pops up, fear, worry, that little voice of self-doubt, you don't fight it. Fighting it just gives it more energy, more power. You simply and calmly replace it with a constructive one. So here's how this looks in the real world. The moment you catch that old automatic thought like, I'm so broke, you don't argue with it, you don't get mad at yourself, you just mentally say, cancel, and immediately substitute it with a more powerful idea. You're not lying to yourself. You're just choosing where to point your mental spotlight towards the solution, not the problem. All right, our next principle might feel a little weird, a little counterintuitive at first. It's the law of relaxation. What Murphy discovered is that the more you strain and try to force an outcome, the more you actually push it away. It's just like when you're trying to remember a name, right? The harder you try, the more it just vanishes. But the moment you relax, let go, and think about something else, poof, it pops right into your head. The exact same principle applies to achieving your goals. All that strain creates resistance. Relaxation allows the solution to just flow to you.
But here's the thing, none of these tools are going to work if you only use them once in a while. And that's where our next principle comes in, the incredible power of repetition. See, just like learning a new skill at work or playing an instrument, changing your mind requires practice. Repetition is what turns a conscious choice into an unconscious automatic program.
Murphy tells this amazing story of a man who had a debilitating stutter his entire life. Every single day, multiple times a day, he would affirm and visualize himself speaking clearly and confidently. Now, at first, it probably felt like a total lie. It felt awkward, but he kept at it. He persisted, and after about 6 months, he was speaking publicly without a single trace of that stutter. He literally overwrote the old program through sheer consistent practice.
And here's a little reality check for all of us. You've been running your old mental programs for decades. You can't expect to just overwrite them in a weekend retreat. As this timeline shows, it takes consistent practice. Yeah, the first few days are going to feel awkward, maybe even fake, but around 3 weeks in, it starts to become a real habit. But after 40 days of consistent effort, that's when you're really on your way to installing a brand new mental default setting.
Now for the final law. And I gotta say, this might just be the most powerful one of them all. If your mind is like a garden, you can't plant beautiful new seeds if the soil is full of poison. The law of forgiveness, that's how you clear the soil.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Holding on to resentment and anger, it doesn't punish the other person. It punishes you. It angers you energetically to a past hurt, and that prevents you from moving forward. Forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay. It's an act of radical self-love to set yourself free. Here's a super simple but powerful technique to start with. Every morning and every night, find a quiet moment and just say to yourself, I fully and freely forgive. Name the person or even yourself. I release all resentment. I am free. You're not saying what happened was okay. You're just unchaining yourself from it. And when you release that baggage, you free up a massive amount of energy to build the life you actually want.
So, we've covered the laws, we've looked at the blueprint, and we've got the tools for change. But here's the truth. Information alone is just entertainment. To make any of this real, you've got to take action. So let's turn this knowledge into a real personal transformation with a simple 40-day challenge.
And here is the key, the secret to making this stick. Don't try to do everything at once. That's just a recipe for getting overwhelmed and quitting. Instead, I want you to pick the one law from this whole explainer that really resonated with you. The one that made you sit up and think, yep, that's me. This is where I need to start. Make that your only focus for the next 40 days.
To make this tangible, use a simple tracker like this one. Every single day, just jot down how you applied your chosen law. Maybe you substituted one negative thought. Maybe you did your 15-minute visualization. Then check it off. That's it. Treat it like brushing your teeth. Just a small, non-negotiable act of mental hygiene.
I'm going to leave you with this powerful idea from Dr. Murphy. You hold the instruction manual. You have the tools. You are the architect of your reality. So the only question left is, what will you choose to build?